real barrier in taking IT to common people has always been language. My mother can't use computer because she doesn't know English. Equating language with technology has always been. But today, we have crossed that barrier in a much more efficient manner than in any time in history. Today, to operate on computer, you need not know English. Language tools are very much mature in all platforms. So the first barrier of language is crossed. Second problem. So what I am hinting is, you should look more into multilingual kind of environment when we are deploying solutions. Second problem. Whatever you say that the application is available in local language. Say in India, the problem is multiple. Because there are so many languages, so many dialects, everything is there. We are not saying that there is no problem at all. There is a second problem. You make the application available in the local language, fine. But how many are literate? How many are literate? Can they read even if you give it in their language? Maybe not. Should that stop us from using the technology? No. Why? Text to speech, speech to text is not limited only for us to play around and say, yeah, let me try this. This is something cool. The real use of text to speech, speech to text should happen in this area, where most of our people are not literate. They can't read, they can't write, but they can talk. Let us use it. Why can't we deploy more speech-based application in a multilingual environment? Very much possible. Nobody is trying. The third possibility which we are not thinking is the real efficient use of mobile phones. We have underestimated mobile phones like anything. Whatever computers could not do, mobile phones have done that. It has reached everyone. At a point of time, we are saying that when computer reaches everyone, we can do something, but nobody has computer, what to do and all. Okay, accepted. There's mobile phones. And mobile phone is a device which every common man carries today. And moreover, see the interesting thing. Even an illiterate person knows how to operate. This is one of the fantastic development which has happened. We always speak in very low terms when we say that, yeah, even my vegetable vendor has a mobile phone. We kind of speak very low when we say that. We should not do that. Because it's an empowering tool. Everybody has every right to use any technology. The moment you say that you limit certain technologies to certain people, there is a problem. Don't underestimate it. Let everyone use mobile. Fine. How are we using the mobile phone is the question. There is a possibility, whatever we had a vision in computers, that it will be used by common man on an every day to deploy services, we couldn't do that. Now there is a chance. And there is an increased chance, let me tell you. I'll give two reasons for this. One, if you had to use something in computers, you had to know language. In mobile, there is no such barrier. Voice is there. Anything and everything can be done through voice. It has been perfected now. One. Second, the basic issue of payment. Why most of the e-commerce attempts fail in India or in most of the countries? Because there are no secure payment mechanisms. Even today, what is the penetration rate of e-commerce in India? How many of us are ready to make online transactions? Not many. See the advantage in mobile phones. Compare and contrast. In e-commerce, everything should be free. Nobody wants to pay anything on internet. But in mobile, nothing is free. There is a minute payment done for every single transaction. This is a very great advantage of mobile phones. And the revenue distribution in mobile phones is much more clear than in internet. In internet, you open a website, people who visit your site, there may be 10,000 people visiting your site, does not mean you will make money. But in mobile phone, it's not so. Even you are charging 1 rupee for your service, you are guaranteed to get at least 10 paisa. 50 paisa you may pay to service provider, 40 paisa you may pay to carrier provider and everything, you can still retain 10 paisa. Don't underestimate 10 paisa in India. Because India is the biggest passport market you can ever get. Even if you make 1% profit and reach 10% of India's population, you can still make, you can still make 1 crore. Which other market provides you this facility? Penetrate 10% of the market, make 1 rupee profit, you can become a crore. This is the advantage of it. Right? So at a point of time we are thinking population is a burden, now we see it as an opportunity. So that is why I say that we are not really thinking on how to use mobile efficiently. As a service provider, whatever ideas we had in doing in e-commerce, we should straight away think of doing it in mobile. Let me go through examples, which we have not at all exploited properly. We have exploited in a very different way. MMS. Exploited to the core. Nobody wants to say that I am sending a MMS. It has got a different cultural meaning today. We are not using MMS properly. See the advantage of MMS. Multimedia service being deployed on the device and making it available for every commoner in this country is such a powerful tool. We have never thought anything like that. You can give training to villagers on something, demonstrate the video, send it to them. Is anybody thinking no? The second thing which we are not at all focusing in technology, voice SMS. Voice SMS I feel is underestimated utility in this whole thing. SMS have taken a very strong place, at least in the urban community it has taken a very strong role. But in the rural place it has not, again because the language barrier it's not reaching much. Voice SMS is the real solution. All the things, for example, whatever we want, for example in e-commerce, whenever when we were discussing, we were saying that let the government put up a website announcing the prices of the product to the farmers so that they are not betrayed. It was not possible. Mainly because where will the computers? How will farmers access the website? See, the problem was not with technology. The problem was in deploying the technology at the grassroots level. When that did not happen, they blamed the technology itself. Come on, why do farmers need IT now? The usual argument given is farmers have to grow crops. What will they do sitting before computers? Right? That was the argument given and the whole technology was ridiculed and abused. Now there is a possibility. A local agriculture cooperative society through voice systems can alert the farmer about the existing market prices. We are crossing all the barriers which previously had through innovative use of technology. I am just hinting at something which is coming to my mind. Maybe if you think you will come about many other such possibilities. So in a nutshell, my argument is very simple. Sooner we start understanding that the discussion we are having in the class has an implication beyond the cases and beyond the flashy corporate kind of things that we are talking about, the better it will be for everyone. Does that mean we have no hope and no role models to answer that also? There are. had some interesting cases. I myself have written a manuscript on this which nobody wants to publish. I was able to collect about 55 cases where IT was in a very innovative manner in India. Some of the cases which have become very popular are Hole in the Wall of NIIT, ITC Chopal, MS Swaminathan Foundation initiative. There are many initiatives, but they are happening only at small levels. If you want to target anything, you have to talk about pan-India level kind of surveys. It is very much possible. When we start introducing computers in governance, I keep telling this to many small companies who come to me also. The biggest opportunity today in India, business opportunity today, is not in banking, financial institute, insurance companies. It's not there. It's there in governance. Do you know the receipts of Indian government? Do you know the numbers in which Indian government talks? The kind of expenditure bills of Indian government? Really huge. Much more than your banks and insurance companies. IT penetration is very low. Somebody has to seize this opportunity. There are two things. One, IT in governance brings lots of transparency. As I keep saying, what is the ultimate use of IT in any setup? It removes the middleman, which is making the entire system corrupt in governance. If you look at one of the most successful IT implementations for common people, in Karnataka it was automation of land records. Automation of land records. Previously people had to go to revenue department, pay huge amount of price to get their own land records. Automation gave them that power, they could access their land record for 20 minutes. Printing charge. Avoided the middlemen, avoided print. Can't we do the same thing in every other areas? We can. What I was thinking the other day is that, again, the non-standard application of a computing technology, the GIS. When we talk about the possible uses of GIS, what comes to your mind? GIS applications, traffic management, that, this, all kind of high-value issues. Land records have been automated. If GIS is embedded into this, what kind of possibilities we are talking about here? There is a possibility. Somebody has to explore that, that's all. So in governance, the moment IT is introduced, there will be many possibilities. One, the middleman will be removed, thereby increasing the efficiency. There is second important implication of IT in governance. Let us come to the basics. Why do I need government? My interaction with government, a common man's interaction will be like this. I have a problem. The street light is not working. The road in front of my house is not proper. I want to do something. There is some problem. I had applied for a ration card, it didn't come. I have such problem. The problem is I don't know whom to call. I try to call the numbers given in the directory and things. These people won't pick up. If they pick up, they'll say, yeah, you call this number, I call that number, they'll call contact this. Gone. How can IT help here? The grievance redressal mechanism, which is perfected by private companies. Look at Dell. The entire operation of Dell, the customer care of it, is handled through its site. When we talk about customer relations management software, our focus is on companies. Isn't this a part of governance also? Replace the C in CRM by customers to citizens. Citizen relation management. CRM. We are not thinking like that. Supply chain management. What? There is a company who wants raw materials, that this, you get raw materials, connect everyone. Governance, come on, there is a possibility. Government calls for civil works, there are contractors, they need materials, they should get it from approved suppliers, they should bid. All this can't happen in an integrated platform, we are not thinking. So, all the technologies that we are talking about here can be applied as it is in governance for maximizing the efficiency of administration. Possibilities are there. I see a small hope, very small initiative, but I think none of us have really understood the importance. Very few have understood. The initiative of the government to have a unique ID for all citizens. The unique ID project, believe me, is something all of us should, if possible, be a part of that, because it is the biggest thing ever happened in the history of IT history of this country, probably the world. It will be a learning experience. I understand that there are some junior positions available for engineering, for graduates, fresh graduates. I highly recommend that you go there and work there for at least 1 year, so that you learn many things, the real IT implementation. I see it as a hope because assigning a number to every citizen has so very large implications. The problem in India today is, it's not that we are not automated. For example, take passport, that's automated. Driving license, automated. Providing the BPL card, something automated. Providing a gas connection, automated. There are many automated systems. They are all existing independently. What UID project plans to do is give a number to every citizen. Power is that, in technical terms you can call it assigning a primary key. Just does that. This primary key, once you have identified, becomes foreign key in all these relations. Everything becomes connected now. See the possibility of this. Right? So I think once this happens, this UID project really rolls out, we can see multiple IT implementation projects coming up. I feel, it's my gut feel, is that the IT professionals who are involved in this project, somebody who has put the high post and joined this project, I don't want to take names, they see a very huge business possibility. This project is just a test case. If this works out, the kind of revenues one intelligent businessman can make is immense. Probably he can be richer than Bill Gates in a matter of 5 years. It's the amount of money that's involved. Not only, I am not talking only about money, I am talking about there is an efficiency factor. It's there. So we should really encourage it.
So there was a similar project implement quite a few 2-3 years back, where there were a few families were taking up the RFID project, embedding into their bodies itself to be uniquely tracked and kept a historical record of. There could be a lot of ethical issues that come into this, right?
Yeah. We'll not go into that. In fact, since the topic has come up, I want to go to my next section which I had in my mind on taking over. That we should not be also at the same time, we have discussed so much on how IT can do that, how IT can do that. And more caution that I want to give. To believe that these technologies can solve all our problems is a myth. Now if you ask me, okay, we'll implement whatever you say. We'll have a integrated information system for Indian government. Everything is computerized. Everything what government wants to say comes through SMS to you. Oh, new legislation passed today. Imagine such a world. Everything is automated. Everything, whatever we say, happens. Will our GDP grow, reach 15% or something? Will the inflation come down to 1%? Will all the poverty in India go away? skeptics may question. Every technology has a limitation. Something is striking to me. I say this. This is an old story. Story of the fact. 1960s, 70s. This problem of population was the biggest issue, like climate change now. 1960s, 70s, Malthus and others came in. They told that the population of the world will explode in such a way that we'll have nowhere to go, what to do. It really became an issue. People started responding to this in various ways. One response given was, oh, population, so much people will come suddenly, what will we do? So there will be so much people everywhere. Someone told, they gave a very good example. Imagine a common grazing ground for cattle in a village. Common grazing ground. Grazing ground. Everybody takes their cattle, use their cattle will graze for entire day. They take it common. So the population will grow so much that the grazing ground will be exploited now. Earlier there were only 10 cattle. Population explosion and all that happened, 100 cattle. But the grazing ground is limited. That won't grow. Instead of 10 cattle, 100 cattle will come in. What happens to the common property? So they said common property should not be there. Everything should be private. Solution is privatizing the property. When you discuss intellectual property rights and all, this is the starting point. Why private properties came? Because of this fear that if you retain everything as it is as public property, people will overexploit it. Therefore, what you should do is you should privatize it. Everybody accepted and private properties came into picture. Your copyrights, patents, it started from there. This whole thing by Malthus. There was other response by medical fraternity. Oh, population growth, what to do? Let us control the population. Hundreds of mechanisms, what to do and all. Some people like us, Sanjay Gandhi and all, were so very fascinated by that. Started implementing it and all. Other areas. There was one more people who responded to the same crisis in a different way. They told, oh, so many people, what is the problem? So many people coming in. Problem is there will be no food grains. So what to do? Some people said it's okay, let people die. People have to die. It's natural justice. Like what people say about what will happen if something will happen. Like